I'm gonna have to call these my wind chime videos. Actually, they stopped for a moment. I think with a little there, like I kind of like it. You bring it into the house later and play the video back, and it's like, where's those sounds coming from? It actually sounds like you're sitting out back out here. And we got the cicadas. Is that how you say it? Cicadas? Cicadas? They're getting noisier too. Here we are mid-August, and we're thinking about the fall. Anyway, something kind of bad happened the other day with a veteran. I don't know the whole story, and it's been weighing on my mind for a while. But I guess he's a real veteran in a wheelchair. Was he in Washington somewhere or something? Washington State. And some guy, and he got into a fight, and he pulled out some kind of fake pistol or one of those paintball pistols or something. And the other guy they got in a fight with shot him. And there was claims of stolen valor, and I don't much care for stolen valor. I don't worry about somebody that wants to. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I was running around in a set of fatigues with one of those old 1950s kind of heavy canvas style caps before the cloth hats we used to wear when we went in. But Debbie and I mean, from 12 years old, my father told me I was gonna be in the Army. He was right about that. He told me I was going to be a tank driver. Now that would have been fun. But anyway, so we'd go to a toy store. What was the name of that toy store in New York City? It was 7 floors of toys. Oh man, I can't believe that. I've forgotten the name. But every Christmas he'd take me over there, and I'd always pick up some kind of gun that shot 7 different kinds of bullets or ammunition. And I was always into playing Army, playing soldier. And so it was a natural thing, I guess, when he started visiting with the recruiter. I must have been about 17 when that started. And I remember visiting Staff Sergeant, I forget his name too now. But anyway, this is a long time ago, over 50 years. And I'll remember it here probably by the end of this. We started visiting, and within a few visits, he had me signed up for I think we called it delayed entry. So I ended up signing up saying, yes, I'll go into the military. And I ended up, my 18th birthday, I was in basic training already at Fort Dix. So my early teen years were all designed, and I read a lot about the different wars and everything, especially World War II. Korea was kind of just over, and Vietnam was coming to an end as I signed up. But so I lived through those ages, particularly. I was born after Korea, but the memory of it, the history of it, was very fresh for me, particularly Vietnam. Debbie, when did you go in? What year? 76. Yeah, she went in a little bit after me. She's got, I guess, about 3 years in the Army, and I had about 5.5 active, and then maybe a year inactive, the way they treated me. But anyway, so I saw this thing with a veteran the other day. Now you got to remember, veterans after Vietnam. I mean, I went to my next training, which was I went to my first base actually down in Georgia, Hunter Army Airfield out of Savannah. And they told us when we got back on the airplane to go home for vacation, or we called it leave. They said, don't wear your uniform. And we had khakis in those days that you would normally be required to wear if you were traveling around and representing the military in any way. But they said, no, don't. And I did wear them a time or two, but they said you're better off not wearing them because people are going to look down on you. Well, that may still be the case in some parts of the country, but there's been a big shift in the way people have looked at veterans, I'd say in the last 20 years, give or take. And the last 10 years, I mean, we had no idea that people were giving out 5 and 10% discounts on your food or on your clothing items. I mean, we get 10% discount on a lot of things regularly these days. Everything from Ace Hardware to going to the restaurant to all kinds of things. It's a different day. It's a new day in that sense. And there's an either a surface level or in some cases a real deep respect for veterans. And so when this story came out, maybe it's a week old now, about this outcry of stolen valor. I just wonder what's going on inside that makes somebody want to claim that they were in the service when they weren't, and why other people are so angry about that, as if they've got a claim to, control or judge what somebody else does. I mean, personally, I don't care if somebody comes over here with a chest full of ribbons and a seal trident, and they look, like they've got all the glitter and gold. I don't really care that much. It doesn't bother me. If somebody wants to pretend that, they've got some glory in their story. But what's going on underneath that is what I'm really driving at. And it's kind of a unfound identity. We kind of stick ourselves out there and we use this image, this picture of being a hero or heroic or having served in difficult places in Afghanistan or even Iraq. But I've gotten really good at knowing who was from what war, actually. From Vietnam, from Korea, or from World War II. And there's still a few left from World War II. It won't be for much longer, so. But anyway, these people are very special to me, and I've spent maybe 8 years as a chaplain with an extra special interest in the usually men, sometimes women, but the veterans from those eras, the veterans from the era since then, Afghanistan and Iraq. I haven't gotten to know them quite as well, and so they may see things a little differently. But for the most part, I don't care if somebody wants to claim anything. But what's going on underneath is their identity. They're identifying with a particular image or group, and this is a problem. When we wrap up ourselves in someone else's group or someone else's ideal or someone else's picture of what it's supposed to be like to be a substantial human being or a great human being or a remarkable human being, we start to lose our own identity, who we really are. We're trying to put on a mask or a uniform or something that says, I'm one of them. And in the meantime, we can easily lose the one of us, the who we are. I think it's a fool's errand, really, to spend much time trying to be somebody you aren't, and somebody that. And it's taken a long time for me to learn that, really, over the years, because I've tried to be somebody I wasn't. I've tried to look at someone else and model their experience and tried to kind of take it in. And there's a difference between that when you have your own identity and you're seriously aware about who you are already, and then you take on some of the the attachments, the accoutrements of other people's lives. And that's not bad. But when you really don't know who you are to start with and what you stand for and where you've come from and what's important to you and the community around you, then you're kind of fresh meat for being taken down the primrose path. You're in a bad spot for not knowing what's really going on. And if stolen valor is the least of your worries, if somebody comes up to you and pretends to be something they're not, that's not the worst thing in the world. What might be worse than that is your reaction to it, as if they stole something from you. They didn't steal anything from you. People can't steal something from you that's internal to you, you already have, that you're strongly in touch with. You are your own person. You're a very special person. You're significant. And your life, maybe it's not popular on YouTube, or maybe you're not a big star on the social media circuits, any one of which maybe not worth its time for you to spend on anyway. But you are you. And how you got there is your story, and how you maintain that is your legacy. You don't need to be somebody else in a pretend mode, in a mask mode, and put on somebody else's uniform. We could do a lot better recognizing who is who for what their own life is all about. About 1 in 100 people walking around the streets when I was a chaplain, which was 4 or 5 years ago, over the last decade, I'd say. About 1 in 100 was a veteran. So you could see 1 in 100 people walking around the streets, and they'd be veterans. You might not know it, although today a lot of World War II veterans will wear a hat. A lot of Vietnam veterans will wear a hat saying I was in the 1st Cav or something. You don't see many Korean veterans, though. Very few will. There's kind of a different sense of what it meant to be in the service during those ages, during those times, during those periods. And one of the things that's fairly common was most of them aren't trying to pretend to be somebody else. Most are trying to keep their memories alive. And I wouldn't say the military was a great place all the time. There's a lot of times where you wish you were somewhere else. But it does give you a baseline. It does give you a starting point. It gives you a way of looking at life that can bring a lot of wisdom along with it. And so, and one of the things that most vets have in common, most, not all, is that they want you to be able to live your life in freedom and prosperity and simplicity and peace. They really don't want you to have to experience the craziness and the stuff that they may have experienced either in peacetime while they were in the service or wartime. And they want you to be you. And they want that freedom for us in this country and in other countries for that matter. That's why they often go overseas to serve, to help people enjoy those freedoms. Doesn't always work out. The military isn't perfect. The military system isn't perfect, but it's designed to maintain the peace and the stability. So that you can be yourself. You can be yourself. Find out who your authentic self is, and I think you're gonna relate well to people of all kinds, all shapes, all sizes, because you know who you are. You're not threatened by who they are or who they want to be or who they claim to be. You're yourself. And that's the base case for not being bothered by other people's claims and what they're trying to say. You know what you want to say. You know what you're about. You know what your image is. You know what your life status is. You know what's important to you. You know how your family is shaped and how important certain relationships are. and you know your experience with God and how real it is. So all of these things are something that this country has stood for a long time. And I don't want to see us lose it. And we could lose it by misappropriating other people's pictures of their identity. Find your own identity. We'll see you later. Have a good weekend.